Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to another episode here on European Confessions. The following story that you're going to be listening to, it was sent to me by one of our dear brother, and this message, it reads like this. Hello, Brother Nashi, how are you? In the early 2000s, that was when I came to South Africa, and I was once the CEO of a prominent company here in South Africa. At that time, even though I was still a Christian, when we are still pushing, trying to climb the corporate ladder, you are always depending on God. But when I became the CEO, making a lot of money in South Africa, I then saw that there was no need for me to keep on praying unto God, because I was a man of wealth, power, and influence, respected by many, and I was feared by some. But today I come to you not as the successful businessman that I once was, but as a soul that is tormented by the truth of what lies beyond death. I must share my story, even though it terrifies me, because the truth, I feel that it has to be known. I died suddenly. I died of a heart attack. This was after I had gone on a drinking spree, taking some drugs with some beautiful South African women, and they said that I had a heart attack. It was quick, unexpected, and I found myself in a place I never believed I will be. I was in hell. The realization hit me like a tidal wave. All my life I had been so focused on building my empire, on accumulating wealth and power, so much that I had ignored the moral and spiritual decay of ever drinking alcohol, cheating on my wife, taking drugs. It had all consumed me. I thought that I was untouchable, that my success on earth would somehow protect me in the afterlife, but I was so dead wrong. Hell is a place of unimaginable torment, a darkness so thick, so much that it chokes you, a fire that burns but never consumes. But the worst part was not the suffering. As for the suffering, I think that it was okay. It was whom I met there. Amongst the people that I met, I encountered a man that we used to see on TV each and every morning, preaching and preaching, a man whom we would hear on the radio whilst he would be preaching, a man that I had once visited, I had once admired, a man who is still revered by a lot of Zimbabweans, millions of them, and he's a pastor whose name I dare not speak. He was a household name in our country, a spiritual leader who had amassed a following so large and devoted that it was said he could move mountains even with a word. When I saw him, I was in shock. How could this man, this so-called man of God, be in hell with a sinner like me? He had preached about salvation, about living a righteous life, and millions had followed his teachings. But there he was, suffering more than the way that I was suffering alongside me and countless others, stripped of his earthly power and fame, reduced to nothing but a tormented soul in hell. He recognized me too, and there was a moment of mutual horror as we locked eyes. I wanted to ask him to demand an explanation, but before I could speak, he approached me and spoke in a voice that still sends shivers down my spine. He told me that his life on earth had been a lie, that he had never truly served God. He had used the name of the Lord to build an empire of his own, to accumulate wealth and power, just as I had done. But on a far greater scale, he had deceived millions and millions, leading them astray when he was indulging in sin and corruption behind closed doors. He warned me not to speak of what I had seen, especially not to mention his name. He gave me a strong warning, and he said that his family's foundation, the same one that continues to promote his legacy on earth, taking care of orphans and those that are poor, they would sue me, threaten, and destroy anyone who will try to expose his fate. He told me that he has since returned to his family to inform them to turn their life around, but to his surprise, then his family foundation decided that it is far much better to keep up with his legacy, to keep on lying to people that he is a man who went to paradise. His influence, even in death, still he says that it reaches into the world of the living, and he is determined. He said that his family is determined to keep this secret hidden. I was terrified. I had seen the depth of his depravity, and I knew that he was telling the truth. His family, the same people who continue to uphold his image up until this day, they are the same people that are deceiving those ones that are also following this pastor. For this pastor, he is not a saint, he is someone that is suffering in hell. But there are many times when I ask myself important questions like, when I was in hell, did God take me to hell because he wanted me to say everything that I saw in hell? But at the same time, I am scared of being sued because this man said that his family, if I try to mention his name or to try to speak about him, then they will pursue me until I have nothing left, and they have a lot of connections. But whenever I tried to pray, because after I had woken up, then I started to go to church again. Now I keep on asking myself, I am getting older and I feel like I cannot longer stay silent. I may not be able to say his name, but I can tell you this: there are wolves in sheep's clothing, men who claim to serve God but are in fact serving themselves. They lead their followers down a path of destruction, whilst they bask in the glory of their earthly success. And I want to warn your listeners not to be deceived by appearances, by titles, or by the size of a man's congregation. People, they need to look deeper. As for me, I told myself that it is far much better to go to a church that has only 20 people, but amongst those 20 people, there will be God, the Spirit of God, rather than to go to a church where there are thousands and thousands of people, but there won't be the Spirit of God. I am sharing my story not to cause any unnecessary fear, but to warn you that the afterlife is real, and the choices we make on earth have consequences. Do not be like me. I was blinded by my ambition and greed and lustfulness after some of the women that I met when I came here in South Africa, and when I was on top of the corporate ladder. I want people to be wary, to always read their Bibles. I know that by speaking out, I might even be risking everything, even in death, but I cannot allow this lie to continue. This is my own confession. If you post my story, please inform me so that I can follow through in the comment section. Lastly, I just want to say to the listeners out there, seek the truth and do not let the false prophets of this world lead you into darkness, because when you die, that is when reality will start. Dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to me by one of our dear brother. Strange things indeed they do happen in this world. Please let us talk about this issue in the comment section. Why is it most of these pastors, if someone tries to expose them, then they will sue that person just by mentioning their name? You can get yourself sued. Strange things indeed they do happen in this world.